Hey guys, and welcome back to another income report video for March. In this video, I'll be sharing with you the KDP royalties that I made in March in comparison to the March of last year, and I'll also be going over how much I spent on advertising and my overall profit for the month. I primarily make low content books, and that includes things like journals, planners, notebooks, logbooks, and some which you might class as more medium content such as activity books or books, journals and so on with colouring pages in them. I started KDP back in 2019, and that was late 2019, and I just realised this week that I've actually made over $300,000 to date in royalties, and that equates to over 136,000 books sold so far. So if you're interested in self-publishing on KDP, then stick around and let me know how long you've been on KDP in the comments below. So March was a little different to last year, that is at least in the UK, because the Easter weekend and the school break was largely in April last year, or at least part of it was in April, whereas this year it started towards the end of March. And I definitely tend to have much lower sales over things like bank holiday weekends and school breaks, and this was also the case this year as well. So I don't think that's the whole story though. In fact, I know it's not the whole story, because I have had higher sales towards Mother's Day usually as well, and they were not quite as high this year by comparison. Overall, my sales were lower this year in March than the previous year, but obviously the difference is that there is a difference in royalties now, as Amazon did make some changes to their royalties last year. And also I did spend more than I'd like on advertising. I spent about double on advertising this year in comparison to last year, which I'll share with you in just a moment. But how about you? Let me know in the comments what you're getting up to at the moment. I find that my work schedule does go out the window during the school breaks because I have children, and I had a couple of trips away in March as well. So I'm quite looking forward to things going back to normal next week and actually getting more done. Nothing really out of the ordinary happened last month. I didn't have any crazy sales days like I did in February, and if you didn't see that income report, I will link a playlist in the description below. However, one difference though was that my ads did seem to settle back down a little bit again this month. Weirdly, I do really struggle to advertise one of my best-selling books in the US. The ACOS is always ridiculously high without many sales at all from ads, and yet the organic sales are some of the best I have. So I'm still inclined to run ads to this particular book just in case the ads are somehow helping me get these organic sales, but I'm not sure if they actually are or they're not. But let me know in the comments if you ever struggle to advertise some of your best-selling books, and if it's maybe some of the ones that don't sell as well that seem to work better with advertising sometimes. So today I'm going to go over my ad spend first. So I advertise primarily in the US and the UK, but also a small amount in Canada and Australia. Australia seems to have the most restrictions on books as far as what you can or can't advertise from what I've seen. I only have a couple of ads running there right now, but one is a group ad, and that's for a bunch of different books in the same niche. So in March, I spent $462 in the US, and the ACOS was 32%. That was a little higher, but not really too bad. And then in the UK, I spent £272 and the ACOS was 21%. And 21% ACOS is great for me, so that was no problem there. In Canada, I spent $40 Canadian and the ACOS was only 7.52%. And that actually led to over $500 in sales. I would like to try and capitalize on this a little bit, because obviously the ACOS for one of these ads is really very low at the moment. So lastly, in Australia, I spent 51 Australian dollars and the ACOS was 18%. So again, that's really good for me. So if you haven't started running ads yet, I do recommend that you start learning them. Someone asked me recently for a recommendation for a course or a YouTube channel that I could recommend as far as advertising goes. But I can't really recommend anything right now because the ones that I took will be really out of date by this point. Essentially, I just learned the basics, the real basics, and then experimented from there and taught myself for the most part. So I would really look up some videos about how to set up an auto ad campaign for KDP, because that's one of the simplest by far to get started with. And then I'd also recommend looking up how to set up a product targeting campaign and then go from there, because you can really start on a very low budget and just use that to experiment, not expecting to make money from it, but just to learn the ropes. For the most part, I'm not looking to make a profit with my ads. I'm very happy to break even, because what I'm trying to do really is to rank the book and to get organic sales. However, advertising can, not always, but it can lead to your book getting ranked higher in the Amazon algorithm, and therefore you will get organic sales as well as advertising sales. So approximately I spent $856 on ads in March, and this was just under $400 in the previous year. Not that I'm against spending more on advertising when it's worthwhile, but in this case I spent more on ads but actually made less overall this month than I had in the previous year. However, I only actually sold 146 more books last March. So certainly some of this reduction in royalties was down to the change in royalty payments and not from physically selling that many less books overall. In both cases, both March this year and last year, the total amount of books sold was close to 4,000. So now I'll just show you how much I made in royalties in March in total. So in March I made $8,105 in total, and on the highest day, that was the 19th of March, and I made over $400, and my lowest day was on the 25th of March where I made $141. And I did have a couple of days which were around the $400 mark, and many others were around the $200 and $300 mark. So in the previous year, I made $9,020, with the highest day being $443. And it was nearly $1,000 higher last March. And part of this was due to the royalty decrease. Partly it was just less sales overall. But in any case, overall, this March was still a really good month. So aside from the advertising costs, the tools I specifically use for KDP come to around $115 a month right now, and you can find a link to all of my tools in the description of this video below. In total then, the profits overall were around $7,134, and that's after taking off the ad expenses and the tools. So as I record this video, we are just in the first week of April. Let me know what your plans are for this month, whether KDP related or otherwise. I can hardly believe that it's April already. It feels like this year is really flying by so fast already. So I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know if you have any questions at all in the comments, and I will try my very best to answer them. But that is going to be all for today. So thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you again very soon.